traumatic brain injury during a May tornado. He'll continue recovery at Atlanta's Shepherd Center with his parents by his side. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
Is this the Tiger?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Rough night for the Dodgers in San Diego. They got pounded 11-1. The Padres had 16 hits off 3 Dodgers pitchers. The Dodgers and Padres wrap up their 3-game series today with a day game. First pitch at 1:10. The Angels beat Oakland 2-1 in 10 innings. First baseman Nolan Shanaway delivered the game-winning hit in the 10th. The Angels and Oakland also have a day game today. First pitch at 1:07 in Anaheim. Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh confirmed Tuesday that he had 2 surgeries in the offseason, a hip replacement and a cardiac ablation to help his heart maintain a normal heartbeat. The 61-year-old Harbaugh has had episodes of an irregular heartbeat. The NBA Finals resume tonight in Indianapolis. It's Game 3 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and Indiana Pacers. The series is tied at 1-1. Tip-off tonight at 5:30 LA time on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
LA's newest soul food restaurant is getting spectacular reviews.
Great place with amazing food. The Sunday champagne brunch is fabulous. I saw the place on IG. We tried it for lunch. We were blown away by the food and the service. The restaurant has an inviting atmosphere and a dynamic vibe.
Over the years, Lionel has catered most major Black events in Los Angeles, including all of our KBLA Talk 1580 gatherings. But now he has his own spot, Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine, and you need to check it out at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles. Oxtails, baked or fried chicken, meatloaf, turkey chops, pork chops, catfish, short ribs, and all the fixins. Collard greens, mac and cheese, yams, red beans, black-eyed peas, and more. And of course, hot water cornbread, satisfying drinks, and delicious desserts. Lionel's is a great place for brunch, lunch, or dinner. If it's good enough for us, it's good enough for you, because we've got your black. So, head on over to Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles and tell Lionel you heard about it on KBLA Talk 1580.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavismiley.show.com. That's thetavismiley.show.com or wherever you get your podcast and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. Pardon this change in plans. I'll give you the rundown here in just a second. We typically start the show with the rundown, but we have a very special guest on the line. I want to get her on. She's very busy. I only have about 10 minutes with her, so let me just jump in right quick. Let me preface it with this. There are now more U.S. troops deployed to Los Angeles than in Iraq and Syria. There are now more U.S. troops deployed to L.A. than in Iraq and Syria. There are 4,800 activated Guard and Marine personnel in L.A. right now, compared to 2,500 troops in Iraq and 1,500 in Syria. There are more troops in L.A. than there are in Iraq and Syria. L.A. Mayor Karen Bass, how are you today?
I'm just fine, but even just listening to that is just shocking for anybody that is in L.A. who knows what is going on in this city that requires the U.S. military.
Yeah. What does require the U.S. military?
Well, I mean, what requires the U.S. military is a war on a foreign land.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. military is trained to kill. They're trained to fight overseas. There is nothing happening in our city, frankly, that even warrant the National Guard, let alone troops. And by the way, Tavis, do you know that this is going to cost taxpayers $130 million for a political stunt?
Yep.
We are all involved in this lab experiment to see how far can the federal government push an individual state and an individual city, and coming to the nation's largest state and the second largest city, I guess the message that is being sent is that if we can take over California, then look out the rest of the country.
Yeah, we mentioned on our program yesterday, the news broke. I was on the air live, Mayor, when Pete Hegseth, Defense Secretary, was testifying in front of Congress, in front of that committee, and that number came out. $134 million is the cost tag, the price tag right now, and counting, I might add. That was yesterday. So the price tag goes up every single day. A lot of money, a lot of taxpayer money, a lot of our money being wasted, as you put it, on this lab experiment. Let me just ask, no naivete here, why L.A. as the test tube, the test case? Why are we the lab experiment?
Well, the only thing I can think of is our size and the fact that we are a city that has always historically embraced our diverse immigrant population. You know, we have people here from every country that you could think of in the world, which I think is our strength. But the other thing is that immigrant labor is absolutely essential to our local economy. You have entire sectors of the economy that are dependent on immigrant labor. And so if you scare off the people and they don't want to go to work, then this is a hit that hits all of us. I was talking to somebody that was in their local grocery store, and they wanted to know why the shelves were empty. And they talked to the manager, and they said, well, it's because people aren't coming into work. You know, people are afraid to go to their kids' graduations. And they, you know, ICE will be seen around the school.
Yeah. Everybody in L.A., of course, is talking about the curfew that you called for in downtown L.A. Tell me about the curfew, the particulars of it, and why you decided to do that.
Yes. Well, what we were concerned about is the escalating violence. And let me just tell you that I don't think for 1 minute that anybody that has been involved in violence or vandalism has anything to do with promoting the rights of immigrants. You know, you and I have been around for a while. We know what this kind of behavior is. We used to call it agent provocateurs in the past. But I think now this is social media driven, and it's an opportunity. So on Monday night, we had 23 businesses that were broken into and looted. It is millions of dollars. I don't know if you've been downtown, Tavis, but millions of dollars of damage to buildings in the form of obscene graffiti everywhere. And that absolutely could not continue, because as far as I'm concerned, that's an invitation to Trump. That is a sign of lawlessness. But what is so frustrating is that if you turn on the national news, you think this is 1992. There's civil unrest all over the city. We are talking about 5 blocks in downtown L.A. It is not even all of downtown L.A. So the curfew starts at 8 p.m. and it's lifted at 6 p.m. 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., and we don't know how long that is going to go on. But, you know, we're told, rumor has it, because that's all you have of this administration, that the raids are going to go on for 30 days or longer. And I think yesterday there were about 6 businesses that were hit, not in Los Angeles, but in our adjacent cities. So I'm going to have a press conference in a couple of hours with the mayors from all of the various cities to call on stopping the raid.
Yeah. I said yesterday on this program, somewhat jokingly, but somewhat seriously, that I pushed you to the very tippy top of my prayer list, because balancing this message of law and order with people's right to protest ain't easy doings, Mayor.
Right. No, it isn't. But I think one thing that is very distinct is that this is not protest.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. This violence happens hours and hours after the protests have ended.
Yeah. Speaking of protest, what started here in L.A., as you well know, has now swept across the country. Literally from California to the Carolinas, there are protests in cities all across America. How do you read that? I've said many times that L.A., California, either cast a long shadow or a long sunbeam across the nation. People watch us. They follow us. They pay attention to us. How are you reading now these nationwide protests?
Well, I think that people understand that the experiment that is happening here could soon arrive at their doorstep.
Yeah.
That's how I read it. I have not talked specifically to those mayors. I will be seeing them and talking to them, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually question, I know you got a full schedule in front of you. Gavin Newsom, the governor of this state, gave a national televised address last night and said in that address that our democracy is under assault. The moment we all feared has now arrived. Would you agree that our democracy is under assault?
Well, absolutely. Anytime the federal government is going to step in and take power away from a governor, you know, what happened last night in terms of the curfew, it had no federal involvement. The federal troops that are there that are federalized, the National Guard, they basically are guarding one building. That's it, one building.
Yeah.
And so, you know, go ahead.
Finish. No, you're the mayor. Finish your point, please. I didn't mean to step on you, Mayor. Finish your point.
I was just going to say that, you know, this is just, it is discouraging because, you know, I don't like us being part of an experiment. I don't like the terror and the fear that gets spread when you have these raids. You never know when they're going to hit. ICE showing up and snatching people out of Home Depot, you know, vendors, food vendors, people at car wash that are customers. I mean, there's story after story. And when we think of immigrants, I know all of your listeners understand that we have thousands, if not tens of thousands, well, I know it's tens of thousands, of immigrants here from Caribbean countries and from African countries and from countries like Belize, which is a predominantly black Central American country. And so when we are talking immigrants, we are talking about all of the above.
Yeah, we've been making that point here. This is our issue as well. If they come for you by day, they're going to come for me by night. And so all of us we're in the same situation. This program is nationally syndicated. As I say, I'm thankful to be heard on stations all across this country. But here in L.A., our home station is KBLA, and that's what we call her, KBLA, Karen Bass, Los Angeles. Mayor, it's always good to have you on. Thanks for your insights. We'll do it again. Stay strong.
Absolutely, and thank you for those prayers.
Thank you, Mayor Bass. That's our mayor, Karen Bass, here in Los Angeles. June is Black Music Month. You know, we do it every day, a different artist of the day. L.A., the nation right now has the blues. How about today, all 3 hours, the king of the blues, B.B. King.
Nobody loves me but my mother. And she could be jiving too. Hey, nobody loves me but my mother. And she could be jiving too. So now you know why I act funny with you, baby. Oh, when you do.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Hi, I'm LA City Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to join us on Saturday, June the 14th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. as we cut the ribbon on the brand new Enel Woods Park at 8703 South McKinley Avenue. Thanks to a generous donation from Heal the Bay, the park features smart irrigation, stormwater capture systems, and space for local wildlife to thrive. And we've built a walking trail, picnic areas, native landscaping, and quiet spaces for families to gather, relax, and connect. This is part of a much larger effort to expand green spaces across South LA with 3 new parks in the works, a first-of-its-kind community center coming soon, and plans to connect it all through the South LA Greenway. So mark your calendar for Saturday, June 14th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and come celebrate a greener, stronger South LA at NL Woods Park. I'm also pleased to sponsor the Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium, moderated by Tavis Smiley, live on C-SPAN, Wednesday, June the 18th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Just a reminder to sign up right away at the KBLA1580.com website to join me, Mayor Karen Bass, Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager Dove, Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson, Dr. Cornel West, former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., the Sierra Club's Ben Jealous, and other black influencers in the climate and health fields as we continue to amplify the connection between climate and poor health outcomes for our people. Thank you for listening. I'm Councilman Curran Price.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Pastor and Mrs. William Sachs Epps on their retirement from stewardship at the historic Second Baptist Church. Dr. Epps has faithfully served Second Baptist as its senior pastor for 37 years. What a legacy of love and leadership. Pastor and Mrs. Epps will be honored at a luncheon on Saturday, July 26, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Universal City, and you're invited to attend. Noted scholar Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is the keynote speaker. For ticket information, please contact epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. That's epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. To Pastor Epps and First Lady Epps, congratulations from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
It's the King of the Blues, B.B. King. All 3 hours of today's program. You know how we do it. June is Black Music Month, and weaving in and out of these conversations with these amazing guests today. All day long, you're going to hear the best of B.B. King as we celebrate Black Music Month. Every day we're doing something different. One day it's blues, one day it's jazz, one day it's gospel. But today's B.B. King, all 3 hours of Tavis Smiley. We thank the mayor for coming on the top of the hour, and now we move to Judd Legum, who is author of the political newsletter Popular Information. I'm delighted to have on this program for the rest of this hour to talk politics. Let me just give you the rundown for the rest of the day. I said I would do that, and I lied, didn't I? I didn't tell you that. In our second hour, 2 conversations. Up first, Colorado Springs Democratic Senator Tony Exum on how he was able to pass a new requirement to teach black history in Colorado schools in the midst of all this pushback on DE&I and Teaching Truth in Colorado. They are now teaching Black history in schools. How did that happen? We'll talk to Tony Exum about that. On the B side of our 2, author Jonathan D. Cohen on his new text, Losing Big, America's Reckless Bet on Sports Gambling. We'll go inside the high-stakes, high-risk world of sports betting and talk about how it is gripping young men in particular. In our third hour, just in time for Father's Day, a conversation with Dr. Charles C. Daniels Jr., co-founder and CEO of the nonprofit organization Fathers Uplift. His new book is called Present: the crisis of American fatherhood, and the power of showing up. That's in our third hour. But in this first hour, as I said, we'll talk politics for the rest of this hour with Judd Legum of the Progressive Political Newsletter, Popular Information. Thank you for your patience, sir, while we talk to the mayor. Judd, how are you today, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Trev.
No, it's good to have you on the program. Thank you for your time. Let me start with this. I mentioned Governor Newsom and his nationally televised address last night. I quoted from that address in our conversation with Mayor Karen Bass and asked her to comment on that. Let me start with some sound from Gavin Newsom, and we'll go from there.
Sure.
This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived. He's taking a wrecking ball to our founding fathers' historic project. 3 co-equal branches of independent government. There are no longer any checks and balances. Congress is nowhere to be found. Speaker Johnson has completely abdicated that responsibility. The rule of law has increasingly been given way to the rule of Don. The founding fathers, they didn't live and die to see this kind of moment. It's time for all of us to stand up. Justice Brandeis, he said it best. In a democracy, the most important office, with all due respect, Mr. President, is not the presidency, and it's certainly not governor. The most important office is office of citizen. At this moment, we all need to stand up and be held to account, a higher level of accountability. If you exercise your First Amendment rights, please do it peacefully. I know many of you are feeling deep anxiety, stress, and fear, but I want you to know that you are the antidote to that fear and that anxiety. What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to him.
It's a great line from Governor Newsom. The rule of law is now the rule of Don. The rule of law is now the rule of Don. Karen Bass and I were talking moments ago about the fact that this excursion here in L.A., these Marine troops and these National Guard troops are costing us at the moment $135 million. U.S. taxpayers are paying, footing the bill for this, obviously. $135 million for that. And just today, Donald Trump says he wants 20,000 more troops to hunt and transport immigrants at a cost of $3.6 billion for 1 year. He wants 20,000 troops to hunt and transport immigrants at a cost of $3.6 billion in this year. And they want to cut Medicaid. Put a pin in that for now. You know I'm coming back to that, right? But Judd, as you watch this, the whole nation is watching this. A broad question, and I will narrow and follow you as we move through this hour. How are you reading this moment in Los Angeles and these nationwide protests that have jumped off since the weekend here in L.A.?
Yeah, I think that was really important what Governor Newsom said at the beginning. Obviously, the center of what's going on right now is in Los Angeles, but I'm coming to you today from Washington, D.C., and that's where Trump has long planned this military parade on his birthday. I think there were always going to be protests, but in light of what's happened in L.A., those would probably be much bigger than they would have otherwise. And just yesterday, President Trump said that he plans on responding to any protest with heavy force. And we're already seeing it in cities like New York and Chicago and elsewhere. And I think the question is, you were mentioning there are thousands of members of the military who are now in LA. Is this going to be a deployment across the entire United States? And what are the implications of that? Because it's really a foundational principle that, absent a request from a governor to deal with a specific kind of emergency or situation, you don't have the military operating within the borders of the United States. I mean, that's one of the things that separates American democracy from a lot of other governments in the world, and we're really seeing that very rapidly break down. And as you mentioned, with this proposed massive expansion, it just seems like Trump is really welcoming the opportunity to really, really expand this as far as he possibly can.
Yeah, let me just give you some more detail about this proposal. We mentioned on this program, what's today, Wednesday? So Monday. By the time I got on the air Monday, Donald Trump had already said, we're going to have troops everywhere. He said, we're going to have troops everywhere. We played the audio of that on Monday, as you recall, for those who listen every day. I hope that means you, and you. Monday, we played the audio of Donald Trump saying, we're going to have troops everywhere. That was Monday. So that was obviously a precursor of what he was already working on. The Pentagon is now reviewing a Department of Homeland Security request to deploy more than 20,000 additional National Guard troops to aid the administration's widening crackdown of illegal immigration around the country. There's the answer to the question that Judd asked a moment ago, not at all rhetorically. No, it's not going to be just L.A. This is around the country. He's going to have troops everywhere. And so, again, the Pentagon is reviewing this request from Department of Homeland Security for 20,000 additional National Guard troops. There's a lot to unpack here. Let me start with this. I am beyond troubled at the way in which you put your finger on this, Judd. I want to be more exacting about it. Our military in this country does not operate like it does in other countries. We're not an occupying force in our own country, with military guns, rifles facing us. And yet, Donald Trump has found a way, again, Gavin Newsom calls it the rule of Don. He has found a way to politicize the military. I can't recall a moment where the military was as politicized as it is right now. How do you read the politicization of our armed forces?
I think it's absolutely going on because, of course, they're being brought in to serve a political agenda. Mm-hmm. And one thing I think, as this escalates and snowballs, one of the things I think is important to keep in mind is before the National Guard was called in, or at the time the National Guard was called in, there were actually very few protests going on even in LA. Mm-hmm. It's the presence of all of these troops, which is obviously an extremely provocative act, that has inflamed the situation much further. So I think that's absolutely going on. And one of the things that's particularly concerning about that, as you think about this playing out, with the thousands that have already been deployed, and now, will there be 20,000 or more deployed all around the country, is that these are people that are highly trained, highly skilled, but they are not highly trained or skilled at law enforcement, which is what is going on in these operations. They are skilled at deadly combat. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what they are trained to do. Mm-hmm. So to put people who are not prepared and were never supposed to be prepared to do these kinds of operations and integrate them into law enforcement activities onto United States soil puts a lot of people in danger, especially when you're talking about going to workplaces and others in other areas. This could be an extraordinarily dangerous situation.
Yeah. Earlier this year on this program, we spent some time commemorating two major events 50 years ago. The situation at Kent State where police killed students 50 years ago this year, that was. And days later, it doesn't get as much coverage because it wasn't white students, but the same thing happened at Jackson State in Mississippi. Like 9 days later, as I recall, people killed there. Again, not as much coverage because those were black students, but 50 years ago on two college campuses in this country, police were called in to quell protest, and people ended up dead. Students ended up dead. That was 50 years ago. Fast forward 50 years, here we are now, police being called in to quell protests that aren't even really that, as you heard Judd say a moment ago, not even that pronounced. And yet we got thousands of troops, as I said earlier, more troops here in L.A. right now than we have in Iraq or Syria. I digress on that for now. A great deal more to cover with Judd Legum when we come forward, including the point that Gavin Newsom made, that Congress has basically ceded all this ground to Donald Trump. Congress ain't said nothing about this. What do we make of that? And is Gavin Newsom right that this is the moment that we all feared but is now here? If that is true, what does that mean for the future of our democracy? A great deal more to cover, as I said, with Judd Legum when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say, when we come forward?
Because he's not going back.
And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump is warning against protests at Saturday's military parade in D.C., marking the Army's 250th birthday.
People that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but, this is people that hate our country.
With anti-ICE protests ongoing, security will be tight. 175 magnetometers and over 18 miles of steel fencing are in place. Sean Diddy Combs was denied a mistrial for the second time. He claims prosecutors used false testimony about an alleged balcony incident involving a friend of Cassie. The judge rejected the motion despite Diddy's legal team challenging the claim. And singer R. Kelly's lawyers say his life is in danger in prison and are seeking his immediate release. They claim to have evidence of misconduct by prosecutors in Chicago and New York. Kelly is serving 30 years and is ineligible for parole until 2045. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year and their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Rough night for the Dodgers in San Diego. They got pounded 11-1. The Padres had 16 hits off 3 Dodgers pitchers. The Dodgers and Padres wrap up their 3-game series today with a day game. First pitch at 1:10. The Angels beat Oakland 2-1 in 10 innings. First baseman Nolan Shanaway delivered the game-winning hit in the 10th. The Angels and Oakland also have a day game today. First pitch at 1:07 in Anaheim. Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh confirmed Tuesday that he had 2 surgeries in the offseason, a hip replacement and a cardiac ablation to help his heart maintain a normal heartbeat. The 61-year-old Harbaugh has had episodes of an irregular heartbeat. The NBA Finals resume tonight in Indianapolis. It's Game 3 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and Indiana Pacers. The series is tied at 1-1. Tip-off tonight at 5:30 LA time on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again. Holla, holla.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God!
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the second consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There'll be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is Resilience in the Face of Chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
We love you. Love you.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
It's the King of the Blues, B.B. King, all 3 hours today of our program as we continue our celebration of June as Black Music Month. It's a hot summer already, and so there's a lot of stuff to cover, but we don't want to lose sight of the fact that every June we celebrate the best of all that these black folk have given to music as we know it, and I certainly can't imagine the soundtrack of my life without some blues on it, and who better than the King of the Blues to take us through this program today, all 3 hours, than B.B. King. Love that track, Ghetto Woman, by B.B. King. Our guest in this hour is Judd Legum. He's author of the political newsletter Popular Information, and delighted to have him on this program. I mentioned a couple things that I wanted to ask Judd about, and I will do that now. In a moment, I want to play some sound for you of Tom Homan. This is Donald Trump's immigration czar. He's the one who threatened to arrest Karen Bass, our lead guest on this program, about 40 minutes ago. He threatened to arrest Gavin Newsom, and Gavin said, "Come for me. You know where I am. Come and get me." So it's a lot of jockeying here, right? A lot of jockeying. But Tom Homan is just beyond the pale. The things that comes out of his mouth are just outrageous to me. But I want you to hear what he said on NBC News last night. Tom Homan, again, Donald Trump's immigration czar, here in just a second. But to Gavin Newsom again, and those points that we heard him make, Judd, in the clip we played earlier, 2 things I want to get to right quick. One, he said flat out that Congress has ceded all of its authority, all of its oversight. They are literally just standing by, doing nothing, as Donald Trump is forcing troops and guards into places that they were not asked for. Karen Bass didn't ask for this. Gavin Newsom didn't ask for it. And in fact, the state of California is now suing the Trump administration over this deployment. And Congress is standing by, watching Trump politicize our military. These are folk who, this is the military crowd. Not that Democrats aren't in the military and we don't support it. I mean, we all stand up at the baseball game when they honor the troops or any place else we go. We clap on the airplanes when they thank the troops. Everybody does this, no matter whether you're Democrat or Republican. But Republicans, this military thing is their thing. And they're watching their president politicize the military, and they still ain't saying nothing. Congress is standing by doing nothing. Gavin Newsom is right. How do you read that, Judd?
Yeah, I think it's unfortunately not surprising because it's part of a pattern we've seen for this entire term so far, is that in these places that are really the core of Congress's power, I mean, you look at tariffs, which are right there in the Constitution. You look at all of the executive orders that have been issued and all of the cuts that Elon Musk was making back in happier times when they were getting along, without any approval of Congress, even though Congress has power of the purse. So I think it's very difficult to understand how people who have spent their entire lives, and it's very difficult in most cases to get elected to Congress. They raise money, they shake hands, they kiss babies, they do everything they can to get into Congress, presumably so that they can exercise their own judgment and make some decisions. And they've really, from day one of this administration, have ceded that. And I think now we are seeing the consequences, and we're seeing the same behavior. And you see Trump has been emboldened. He will keep pushing until someone tells him to stop. And there is no one right now that is telling him to stop or making him stop. And Congress certainly is a big part of that.
The other issue we raised, that Gavin Newsom, I should say, raised in the clip we played earlier, is that this is the moment that we were all afraid of, but this moment has arrived. There are any number of ways to unpack that, and we will after I play for you Tom Homan last night on NBC News.
From what you've seen, from what you've heard in Los Angeles, could you conduct ICE raids right now without the help of the National Guard and the Marines?
We can conduct ICE raids, but it's about the threats and the violence right now. I mean, this job's already dangerous. I've done this for a long time. I mean, our ICE officers have been attacked. It's like we're a third world nation where people think it's okay to threaten the life and safety of federal law enforcement officers and their families.
I want to put up a tweet for you. This is what Governor Newsom put on X, right? He put the photos you see there of Marines sleeping on top of each other. This is what he wrote in that post. You sent your troops here without fuel, food, water, or a place to sleep. Here they are being forced to sleep on the floor, piled on top of one another. What do you say to that, Mr. Homan?
I'd say I would take a few moments, go downtown L.A. and look at the damage that's been done by these radical protesters. I mean, President Trump's saving his city. President Trump's doing what he should have done. Gavin Newsom could have responded right away. And everybody wants to put the blame on President Trump and the National Guard. You know where the blame starts? It starts with the Biden administration with over 10 million illegal aliens across this border. We're out there trying to respond to the chaos he created.
So it's all Joe Biden's fault, not Donald Trump's, again, as he's forcing troops down the throats of people in locales, L.A. specifically, that did not ask for them. So Gavin Newsom suggested in that clip, Judd, that, again, this is the moment that we were all afraid of, and that moment has arrived. I think I know what Gavin Newsom meant. I think we all know what Gavin Newsom meant. And yet, I keep asking this question, when is Donald Trump going to go far enough where somebody does tell him enough is enough? To your point, Judd, we're not there yet. So is Gavin right? The moment that we were all afraid of is now here.
I think it's certainly a really perilous time because it's unclear how long this escalates. I mean, in my view, all of these, what's going on is purposely provocative.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously been some violence. It's not unusual if there's a good number of people protesting that people want to kind of take advantage of that situation and cause havoc. That happens quite a bit. But for the most part, this isn't a case of a city that is under siege or is some sort of apocalyptic scenario. These troops were brought in order to, as a provocation. And I think that it is frightening to think about what might happen next. Hopefully cooler heads prevail and these troops are withdrawn and they're not deployed across the country. But obviously Donald Trump is signaling that is what he wants to do. And I think when Governor Newsom talks about how this is the time, this is what we've been fearing, he has talked about this as something that he wants to do and has pushed for this really since 2020. So he was looking for essentially an excuse, a reason to do this, and now he is doing it, and clearly he's enjoying it. So I think that is why a lot of people were fearing this was going on, because he would talk about explicitly his desire to deploy troops against protesters.
What Tom Homan essentially suggested in that clip from NBC News last night is that he went out, he honed in, of course, on Gavin Newsom in particular, but his broader suggestion was that these protests in L.A. and now across the country really reflect a failure of Democratic and or progressive leadership. I want to wrestle with that and see what Judd thinks of that, that notion that Homan essentially advanced, that these protests we're watching right now all across the country reflect a failure of Democratic or progressive leadership. We'll get into it when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
BET and PBS, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley. Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Judd Legum, author of the political newsletter Popular Information. So Tom Homan certainly advanced this notion last night, Judd, on NBC, but he's not the only one. I've been reading more and more pieces by folk, mostly conservatives, but this argument is starting to gain some traction, that this resurgent radicalism, as they would term it, this resurgent radicalism in urban settings all across this country really represents a failure of progressive governance. How do you respond, Judd?
Yeah, just really completely afactual. one of the things that happened pretty consistently throughout the Biden term is we had record declines in crime, violent crime and other kinds of crime really throughout the term. And that's really persisted. This idea that these cities are these hellholes that, they talk about, it's just not reflected at all in the data. What happened here was President Trump made a lot of promises about the number of deportations that he was going to do during his term. And this was supposed to be based on all these criminals who had entered the country. Well, they started with people who, either were in the system or had a criminal record, and they weren't even deporting people at a rate that was as high as the Biden administration. Mm-hmm. And so they weren't really sure what to do. And now what they are doing is trying to raid and deport people who are in workplaces. These are people who have, in many cases, been part of the community for years, decades. They're not committing any crimes, and they're integral parts of the community. And that is what the protests are in response to. The treatment of these people who are friends, neighbors, co-workers, people who have deep connections to these communities, and trying to just uproot them in a very aggressive fashion. And so I think that's really what we're seeing, rather than some kind of inevitable consequence of, radicalization under, the previous administration.
I accept your response, and more than accept it, I agree with it. It is a factual to suggest that these protests are the result of a failure of progressive leadership. But here's the real question, which I'll let Judd unpack in our remaining moments with him when we come forward. How do Democrats, how does the left respond to this new line of attack? That this resurgent radicalism, again, is an example of the failed progressive governance of these mayors in Democratic strongholds across the country. What's our response to that? That's where we'll close when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail, and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do you do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail, because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Well, these polymers aren't as flexible as batch K3.
Researcher Laurie is stretched thin.
Did you get the vulcanization analytics from V66? Oh, wait, are these rubber scores from last week?
She needs to hire new lab technicians so she can bounce back into her old self.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our matching platform lets you spend less time searching and more time connecting with candidates. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back?
back. If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PUSH to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PUSH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PUSH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Judd Legum. Judd, if in fact this is their new line of attack, that these protests all across the country are evidence of failed progressive, failed democratic leadership, what is, sir, our response?
Well, it's always tricky to know, but I think that one thing that's important for people to recognize is not to be on the defensive that much. You know, if you look at, I'm not a huge person, you know, who's analyzing polls all day, but if you look at the polling, Trump's response to this is not popular. People understand that this is un-American. And so I think standing up for the right to protest and also opposing the use of the military on U.S. soil is pretty firm ground.
Yeah.
And I also think that advocating more moderate responses to immigration, where you're actually targeting criminals and you're not trying to, remove, young people, students, people who, maybe people who were brought here as children from the country haphazardly and aggressively, is also fairly firm ground. So I don't think this is necessarily a political masterstroke, by Trump and his allies. I think that this is an overreach.
Yep. Judd just mentioned children. That word came out of his mouth, and I want to just pivot right quick in these last 2.5, 3 minutes to something about the babies. You can call it the Jedi mind trick. You can call it a weapon of mass distraction, a WMD. But while we're talking about this manufactured crisis by Donald Trump here in L.A., we're missing out on what Trump is doing. It's a sleight of hand, right? We're not talking about this budget. This big, beautiful bill, as he called it. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about what's happening in Gaza while we talk about this. And I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't talk about it, but we got to be able to do two things at one time. In the 2 minutes I have left here, I saw the powerful piece you wrote, Judd, about the war on poor kids. Donald Trump's got a war on California right now, but he's also waging a war on poor kids. And we're not talking about that part. I got 2 minutes. Give it to me, Judd.
Yeah, I think if you look at this reconciliation bill that they're trying everything they can to get through Congress, and you've got massive tax cuts going to the 0.1%, not even the 1%, the 0.1%. And the people that are going to suffer the most are children who are living in poor families, whether it's their parents or themselves losing access to Medicaid, whether it's losing access to housing. You're going to have potentially thousands of young children who become homeless as a result of this, whether it's the educational system and programs that might help their schools be a little better. It's really down the line, poor kids who are taking the brunt of the cuts that are being used to not fully offset, but partially offset these tax cuts to the 0.1%.
No, there's a lot going on, and it's, again, hard to keep your eye on all these balls that we're juggling, as it were. But I want to make sure that as we move through our 3-hour program every day, that while we do talk about what's happening in L.A., that, again, we keep our focus on all the sleight of hand, as I said, that Donald Trump is engaged in right now on a variety of fronts. For now, I thank Judd Legum, an American journalist, lawyer, was at one point in the Hillary Clinton circle as her researcher for her campaign. But I appreciate your insights in this hour, Judd. Wish you all the best. We'll do it again, sir. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having me, Tavis.
My honor. 2 great hours in front of us. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump is warning against protests at Saturday's military parade in D.C., marking the Army's 250th birthday.
People that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but, this is people that hate our country.
With anti-ICE protests ongoing, security will be tight. 175 magnetometers and over 18 miles of steel fencing are in place. Sean Diddy Combs was denied a mistrial for the second time. He claims prosecutors used false testimony about an alleged balcony incident involving a friend of Cassie. The judge rejected the motion